One of the biggest things holding you back right now is not a lack of talent and it's not a lack of opportunity. It's actually the fact that you've been so used to adjusting yourself for everyone else that you're not even noticing it anymore. You'll work a job that you hate. You'll date someone you're not even into because being alone for 6 months is worse or feels worse than being unhappy for 6 years. You'll rehearse how to say something for 3 or 4 days and then say none of it. Now, you're going to call it loyalty or patience, professionalism, I don't know, whatever excuse you make up. But the thing is, none of those words mean what you think they mean. What you actually mean to say is that I'm scared to find out what happens when I stop. The philosopher Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith. And it's a big part of why people end up anxious, exhausted, and broke. When you're constantly performing instead of choosing your own actions, you'll eventually lose your sense of direction. Now, if this sounds like you, the good news is, in this video, I'm going to talk about what bad faith actually is, how people fall into it without even noticing, and we're going to talk about how you can kind of step away from that and stop living in bad faith. Now, when people hear the word bad faith, they probably think of someone that's lying to other people. They envision some politician, some shady salesman, but Jean-Paul Sartre meant something more specific than that. Bad faith is when you hide the truth from yourself, convincing yourself that you have no choice even when deep down you know that you do. Sartre's most famous example is a waiter who's working at a cafe. The waiter hates his job. He'd literally rather do anything else. But somewhere along the way, this waiter made a quiet trade. He decided that he'd rather spend the next 20 years hating every single weekday than spending a month trying to figure out who he is without the apron. So when you watch this waiter, every gesture is perfect. Every smile feels on cue. And he moves a little too carefully and a little too cheerfully. Every motion feels rehearsed. And he's no longer just waiting on tables. He's actually performing the role of the waiter. And most of us do some version of the same thing. Maybe your role is the easygoing friend or the employee that never really argues back. Maybe it's acting like you're not ambitious because seeming ambitious might make people around you uncomfortable. You spend so much of your energy maintaining that version of yourself that eventually it just starts to feel like who you really are. But part of you knows what's true. Part of you knows that you could be better. But for some reason, a bigger part of you decides not to look or think too much about that. Now, this constant performance, it's exhausting. Carl Jung called it the persona, the social mask that we wear to function day to day. Now, the mask itself is not the problem. Everyone has one. We all adjust ourselves a little bit depending on where we are and who we're with. The problem really starts when you forget that you're even wearing the mask. When every conversation feels like a performance, every opinion needs to be filtered, and every decision that you make revolves around people being comfortable, you end up carrying a version of yourself that takes a lot of energy just to maintain. And it's a big reason why you feel mentally and physically drained even when you haven't done that much today. It's not about your sleep, it's not about your workload. A lot of times it's just the weight of pretending all day long. And over time, you will stop making decisions based on what you actually want. You'll start making them based on what keeps this character alive. And it's hard to build a meaningful life when you know that all the work that you're doing isn't even really for yourself. So why does our brain do this? The brain didn't invent this habit for no reason. The world gives you plenty of reasons to be careful. Everything lives online now. Every mistake you make gets recorded, gets screenshotted. Awkward moments in your life seem to just stick around forever. People like to judge others very quickly, and social media just makes you feel like everyone's watching you all the time. So your brain adapts. It builds a version of you that feels safer, that feels less likely to be criticized or rejected. And that strategy works for a while. The problem is what starts as protection starts to become your default way of living. A shield is useful during a fight, but it's not useful to be carrying around all day long. And when avoiding judgment becomes your top priority, you'll stop living your life honestly. And you'll stop growing because in order to grow, you have to risk something. And so playing it safe actually costs you much more than just taking that risk. Now, before we get into how to drop the mask, there's something that's worth noticing. Think about the people that actually grab your attention online. Usually, it's not because they're the smartest person in the room. It's because when you watch them, it doesn't really feel like they're filtering everything that they're doing. Take iShowSpeed, for example. Whether you like him or you hate him, his unfiltered unpredictability is what makes him so worth watching. And people gravitate towards that. Loud, awkward, chaotic. We'd rather watch that than see someone just read off of a script. So, how do you actually drop the mask that's quietly sabotaging you? The first thing you need to do is catch yourself in the moment. Notice when you're saying something that doesn't feel quite like you. Stop giving the automatic answer or acting like someone that isn't you. You don't have to force anything because just noticing it is enough to start interrupting it. Try doing what Sartre called radical responsibility. Instead of assuming that everyone's kind of making you wear this mask, just accept the fact that you're the one who's choosing to wear it. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it finally puts the power back into your hands because if you're the one who's choosing to wear the mask, you can choose differently. Ask yourself just one simple question. Is what I'm saying actually true? Not whether people will like it. Is it true? Now, as a thank you for liking and subscribing, I want to show you a clip of Jim Carrey explaining how keeping up the mask is what actually causes a lot of the anxiety and depression we chalk up to everything else.
The one thing, like people talk about depression all the time, the difference between depression and sadness is just, from happenstance, whatever happened or didn't happen for you, or, grief or whatever it is. And depression is your body saying, fuck you, I don't want to be this character anymore. I don't want to hold up this avatar that you've created in the world. It's too much for me.
Right.
And so a friend